they're talking about Petr Yan fighting for a title. What have you thought about like what a win does for your career at this point?
I haven't thought too far past it. Petr Yan's a tough opponent to go out there and think past, anyways. And then looking at the division overall, even if I go out and I beat Piotr in the fashion that I plan and want to beat Piotr in, I don't think that submits me as a title contender. You know what I'm saying? Like, will I be up there? Will I have at least broken into that area? Cool. But I think there's a lot of guys that you could say that absolutely deserve that shot before me. Now, would I turn down the shot if I got the shot? Absolutely not. Like, why would I do that? But I'm not in a rush to get to that title. I trust the timing that is correct for me. And if that is the timing and it's after this fight, then fantastic. But I'm not overly concerned about that.
A lot of people are saying, you're not super deserving of Petr
Oh,
Yan and all that stuff. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And I can hear what they're saying as far as like I have 4 fights in the UFC, he's got 16 fights in the UFC. I hear like those type of things, but when we're talking about performance and talking about who's ready to go right now and who's willing to accept the fight and what I've already done, what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Of course, the number 13 guy shouldn't be fighting a number 3 guy. But if number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is not ready to go and 13 is ready to go, how do you say it's not deserving?
All right, so I'm joined by the maniac, Marcus McGhee, after the announcement of his fight against Petr Yan on July 26th. Welcome back, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. I've been good. How about yourself, man? I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad to have you here. I'm doing great, and I'm looking forward to this fight. Big fight, right?
Yeah,
And
huge fight.
also, this fight finally got officially announced. There was like a fake announcement, all that stuff. So now that it's finally announced, how you feeling about it?
I feel good, man. I wish the first announcement was their actual announcement, but we had to wait for everything to get litigated and everything to be finalized. So yes, we both had agreed at that time, but just contractual stuff wasn't finished.
Okay. So there's like some type of mole in the camp there, or like maybe in a. I got a theory. I feel like Jason's got a mole in the fucking agency
Man, possibly, bro. There's a mole in the agency, a mole in the UFC. There's somewhere, a mole
somewhere.
somewhere, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of fights that are getting released, or that are getting put out there before their time. You know what I'm saying? And whoever it is, I think it's strategic.
Yeah, I feel you. It's weird because like this one was one of those where it's like you're ranked number 13, he's ranked number 2, and it's like this isn't even like one of those random ones somebody puts together. Like it's almost like so crazy that it has to be real.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
feel me?
100%, a hundred
Yeah.
percent.
But I'm glad it all came down because when I was looking at it too, I saw your manager was like, it's not really official. But I was thinking like, well, Marcus hasn't fought. I think Petr Yan's just adamant about fighting in Abu Dhabi or something. And so
Mm-hmm.
like, why wouldn't Marcus take the opportunity if Peter's down?
100%. And that was my whole thing. I had heard that he was looking for a fight, and I definitely threw my name in the hat, but I didn't think there was not like I thought it was gonna happen, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, yeah, I'm definitely down if that's what the case is. And then I heard that he, was open to fighting me, and I was like, well, hey, I haven't fought either. I've been looking for a fight too. Both of us trying to fight in the summer. Oh, let's line that up.
Yeah, it's perfect, right?
Yeah, straight up, man. Because I mean, it's been almost 8 months for me. I fought in November. I think he fought in October. So I think we've both been itching to compete. This is what we're here to do. So I'm thankful to get the call.
Awesome. Well, have you been like training and stuff like that over the last 8 months, or what have you even been up to in this time off?
Yeah, just training. My training schedule pretty stays the same. The only thing that changes is like I just ramp it up during camp. 6 weeks out from the camp, 8 weeks out from the camp, I'll ramp up conditioning things. You know what I'm saying, just to be that extra killer.
Got
But
you.
everything tries to stay the same. I try to train. This is my job, and I try to treat it as such. And a person who's given me that inspiration is Mario. 6 days a week, twice a day, no matter what it is, whatever I'm focusing on might be different, but that's my job to be in there twice a day, really giving everything I can to this thing. So that's what I do.
Okay, so it's been twice a day, but more so you'll just ramp it up now that the fight is signed and stuff like that, like maybe harder sparring and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll actually do Shark Tank rounds, which I did sparring rounds too, cage rounds for some of my training partners. So it's not like I haven't been doing any, but it starts to be focused on me now. Now I'm gonna do Shark Tank rounds where guys circle in on me. Now I'm gonna do extra conditioning. It's just like you implementing these other things that would be hard to maintain year round.
Definitely, because especially the coaches are switching their focuses, so now the focus just switches to you.
Yeah.
Got you. And with this fight, obviously we just kind of touched on it. You're 13. I think he's ranked 2 or 3, if I'm not mistaken.
They just moved him to 3. Yep.
They just moved him to 3. So, I mean, you're right there in the title talks. They're talking about Petr Yan fighting for a title. What have you thought about like what a win does for your career at this point?
I haven't thought too far past it. Petr Yan's a tough opponent to go out there and think past anyways, and then looking at the division overall, even if I go out and I beat Piotr in the fashion that I plan and want to beat Piotr in, I don't think that submits me as a title contender. You know what I'm saying? Like, will I be up there? Will I have at least broken into that area? Cool. But I think there's a lot of guys that you could say that absolutely deserve that shot before me. Now, would I turn down the shot if I got the shot? Absolutely not. Like, why would I do that? But I'm not in a rush to get to that title. I trust the timing that is correct for me, and if that is the timing and it's after this fight, then fantastic. But I'm not overly concerned about that.
Okay, got you. So you're even okay if like there's one more and stuff like that. Like you're not gonna be campaigning like title shot or bust and all this shit after that.
No, not me, man.
Got you. Got you. And also I was thinking too about the Abu Dhabi. Have you or wait, is it I was looking at Tapology. I haven't like looked too deep though. Is it Abu Dhabi or Dubai?
It's Abu Dhabi.
Okay, Abu Dhabi, then I just want to make sure I have it correct. Have you been there in the past at all? Or like
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time going there?
No, so I've been there before. Kyler fought on Yas Island when I was 1-0, and I went out there when I was 1-0. And it was so funny. People pulled out during that time, and I
Yeah.
was primed and ready. I could have made weight. I was making sure my weight was good, but there was no way the UFC was going to throw me in there at that time. But it was just ironic. The irony in it all that I still got into the UFC later on was pretty fantastic.
Yeah. So with Abu Dhabi, when the fight happened, were you like when Kyler's fight happened, how was your energy levels around that time period? Do you even like remember? Or is that too long ago?
Yeah, yeah, I loved it, man. My energy levels were great. I acclimated very well. That's why I'm going out early to acclimate again. I feel like I was firing in all cylinders too.
You're
Kyler
ready
was
to
as
go.
well, but I was ready to go as well. So honestly, going to Dubai was not something that I really wanted to do. I didn't want to go fly anywhere to go fight. I'd rather fight in the States, to be honest. But I spoke to God about it. Me and him had a conversation, and I told him, I was like, hey, man, I'm not looking to do this, but if you call me, here I am, send me. So putting on the armor, throwing it on, throwing it all on, and I'm heading overseas like he told me to.
Prayers are answered then.
And they
He heard
are
you, the prayer's been answered. Now it's time
always.
to go get the job done.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
got you. Also I was thinking too, um, the 8 months off. Did you have any other opponents maybe like that were nothing over the 8 months, like no offers or anything?
Nothing, nothing. They
Dang.
had the Rob Font fight had fell off, and I thought about taking that one, but that was like, man, do I take it on 2.5 weeks notice and have a hard time making the weight? Because that was my biggest thing. I trained rigorously, but weight cutting matters too, making sure you take care of all those things. And at the time, I was heavier than I'd like to be to make that cut. Uh, Now, don't get me wrong. If it was like when they had said that I was like, man, if you guys can push it back 6 weeks, which would be 4 weeks later than he was supposed to fight, I would have been down to take that one. But that didn't even get offered to me. None of that was even like. He just said, hey, if they did offer it to you, would you be open to it? And I was like, there's no way I'm making weight in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. So just kind of like impossible one. So it wasn't any
Yeah.
biggie on turning it down or anything like that.
No, that's the only thing that was possible. That's the only thing that came across my table. Other than that, I didn't hear not one name.
Okay. And you can be as vague as you like, but I'm just kind of curious because you said like no contracts were signed and stuff. So did you happen to sign any new deal or anything for this fight?
Yeah, yeah. So we got a new contract for this fight. So which we are already gonna get a new contract after Jonathan anyway. So that was already something that we were in talks about. I jumped into the top 15 on a second contract, and we knew that taking that next step, especially against a guy like Peter, that we definitely needed to get into a new contract. So that's what we did.
Nice. And deservingly so off that Jonathan Martinez win. That was a big win last year. You know what I mean? That's a tough opponent. So I think a lot of the hardcore fans know that, but just to put it out there, that was a solidified win because this is the one that's almost been slipping my mind during this whole interview because a lot of people are saying, you're not super deserving of Peter
Oh,
Yan and all that stuff. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And I can hear what they're saying as far as like I have 4 fights in the UFC, he's got 16 fights in the UFC. I hear like those type of things, but when we're talking about performance and talking about who's ready to go right now and who's willing to accept the fight and what I've already done, what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Of course, the number 13 guy shouldn't be fighting a number 3 guy. But if number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is not ready to go and 13 is ready to go, how you say it's not deserving, you know what I'm saying? And it's not like I've been pushed. It's not like they've extra pushed me like I'm all out here on their on the web and everything like that. It's not like I've been getting a big push. This is not gifted. I think that they believe that this is going to be an extremely competitive fight, and that you know there's a lot of low hanging fruit for them there.
What do you mean by low hanging fruit as far as the promotion or fans or something?
Yeah, but for the fans and for the promotion, right? You know what I'm saying? This is a way to get like a big fight that people aren't really realizing that's going to be explosive and amazing. So the fans will win in that aspect, even though they don't know they're going to win yet. They'll win
Definitely.
in that aspect, and then the UFC gets to promote two of their guys at the highest level and have a great moment that they get to produce and as well. There's a lot of great things that can come from this, I think. You know, so that's what I mean by low hanging fruit.
Okay, and also it shakes up the division because right
That
now there's like this conversation like who does even like deserve the title shot? Petr Yan, Sandhagen. I guess it's Sandhagen, but after that, we still need to define maybe another contender or something like that.
100%, you know, because
Yeah,
I definitely think first was Cory Sandhagen, then Petr Yan, you know, and I think, you know, I think Usman probably or Umar has to fight one more time, you know. But even now, I can imagine him getting a fight, title fight too. If it's not Merab holding the belt, you know, I
yeah.
can imagine him if somebody else was up there, you know. And then yeah, I think you're right. That's the other part of the low hanging fruit that I meant. Is it gets a chance to spice up you know the top 10, top five,
New
because you know
matchups.
a lot of those guys have been jumping around inside of that top 10 for a while now. You know, there's not a whole lot of new guys that jumped into that mix.
Yeah, definitely. And because the we just mentioned what's his name? Merab and Sandhagen might be that next one. How are you looking at that by chance? Because if like on paper it's like Sandhagen's lost some of these fights, but I don't know, maybe it's one of those cases where styles make fights here.
I think every case of styles make fights, and you know, I think Corey Sandhagen can make certain adjustments and has a style that can do very well against a Marab as well. He moves a lot, which makes getting taken down a lot harder. You know, he's rangy just like Suge. He's different than Suge too. His movement's a little bit different than Suge. Suge has great movement as well, but there's certain adjustments that he can make. I definitely, you know, I don't count any of these guys out. On any given night, Corey Sandhagen can be the world champion. I really believe that. He's got all the skills, you know. Any given night, you know, Umar can be champion. Any given night, Peter can be champion again. Any given night, any of these guys can go out there and put a stamp on it and get that belt. And I think that's what's great about the bantamweight division is that's how competitive it is. That's how competitive it is. Any of us could beat any of us on any given day. So be there for that day.
Definitely. And also styles make fights. I think that's a big one where even like with you and Peter on this one, like you said how some of the guys weren't ready, but even in the case of like you go out there, you finish your opponents, maybe even take a couple on short notice, get in good graces with the UFC, like good things can also happen with your career, because the UFC sees you as somebody they can mix up with some of the top dogs. Versus if you
100%.
just squeak by on some wins, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
like somebody who will too, you know, I think they do appreciate that, you know, like I'm not all these tasks that I've been put up to, I've you know, joyfully stepped up to each one of them, not making it a hassle, being grateful inside of it. So I think that they appreciate that, you know, as well, you know, because
Definitely.
a lot of guys don't want to do that type of stuff. And I understand this is a business as well. You got to build your business. Fighting is only however long it is, you know, but I'm a little bit older anyways, you know. So like for me, I am building all those things anyways, and I look at it in a different perspective, you know. Like I'm learning and growing. I'm down to grow. I want to find out, you know. And again, I'm not gonna rush or take a seat back because of fear or like doubt, you know. We're gonna go forward, and if this is the plan and this is where I'm getting put at, this is what we're gonna do.
Definitely. It's almost like, the best of both worlds for you because I think the UFC recognizes your age and they're like, "We're not gonna make this guy, like, fight a million times to, like, get to where he wants to be." So you almost get, like, you know what I mean, a little bit of, like, a push. Like, Josh Emmett's career?
Yep.
He started off a little bit older, and so he was able it's like sink or swim, right? We don't gotta do this thing where it's like, "Can you hang or not?" We're not gonna waste a couple years on with you on that. So, like, you kinda got this opportunity where it's like sink or swim, and so far you've been swimming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, you know,
Yeah,
and
for
they're like,
sure.
hey, if he can swim, we're gonna put him in there with them boys. You know what
Keep
I'm saying?
testing
Go
him, why
ahead and
not?
let him
Why give him a
swim.
back step,
Yeah,
right?
100%. And I
Yeah,
think they know I'm up for that too. I'm not against any of that stuff too. Like even if they had went backwards, like everyone's like, oh, you got to get somebody ahead. I hear you, and that's great for my career. But again, you know what I'm saying? We're here to find out how great we can be, you know, and I guess that to everybody else, that's the title. I hear you on that. But that's not the end all be all for people who are in this thing and dedicated to this thing. That's for show. That's for smoke and mirrors. That's for everybody else. And I don't want to be associated with that like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I
I
don't want
feel you.
that to be my, I don't want that to be like my why. You know what I'm saying?
The title run, so to speak, right? Or like that defining your career. Because
Exactly.
big fights, you know what I mean? The fans love the good matchups. I use boxing as an example. Rolly Romero, he's had some tough losses, right? If you follow boxing at all, but
Yep.
he always fights the tough guys. Like he just took on Ryan Garcia and beat him. Everybody forgets about all that other shit. I think way down the road, people remember like, you know what I mean? All these other things as far as like these big matchups that kind of like fights that mean something to fans. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Well, all this undefeated stuff and all that craziness, you know, and all those type of things, I think add to that. And it's like people are so uneducated about those type of things, you know. So they're like, oh, you know, that's the most important thing, being undefeated or not getting beat by anybody. And I don't think that's the most important thing, man. You know, like look at Merab. He was 0-2 when he started MMA as a pro, and now he's the champion of the whole world.
Lost his
So
first 2 UFC fights, I think, on top of that.
yeah, and lost his first two. Like, it's like, come on, you guys. Like, come on, bro. Like, what are we talking about? You know, like you don't have to be great. You don't have my definition of greatness is not going to be determined by them. You know what I'm
Yeah, for
saying?
sure.
I'm not letting it happen. I refuse to let my greatness be stomped or my fire be put out because people get to have their opinions. Let them have their opinions as they sit in the bleachers, as they sit in the audience and they talk, and I go perform and do.
Exactly. And, you know, so kind of like I'll conclude it, by saying, like, the rankings, you know, they're one thing, but also, like, there's a side of fighting where it's like, you know, you be an exciting fighter and it'll almost take care of itself. Speaking of this though, just because with what we're talking about how people kind of that undefeated shit, right? I think a lot of people are being hard on Sean right now, thinking like, you know, he's done, what a fall from grace. And in my opinion, I'm thinking like this guy's still I know you're a bantamweight as well, so don't get it twisted with this one, but he's still kind of like the second best bantamweight in the world, in my opinion. Like
Bro,
I don't see him falling off to like below top 10, even below top 5, really.
Bro, I'm saying, dude, but that's what I'm saying. People get caught up in all that stuff. You know, they get caught up in all these people and what they're saying. They don't even understand what they're saying, bro. He just fought Merab, the champion of the world, the machine. You're gonna count him out from every other fight because of that one performance? Man,
Exactly.
are you really a fan? Are you really a fan? You know what I'm saying? That comes to that's all momentary things. Like people say love, they know what love is. That's not love. People will tell you, "Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you." Please don't say that to me because I mean it when I say I love you, and the love that I have goes beyond your performance. You know what I'm saying? And people have loved Sugar because of his climb to fame instead of loving him as genuine as they should. And I think Suge's finding that out right now too. And I think that's why he's detached away from a lot of this other stuff because he's realized like it's so fake. You know, a lot of it's not real. And I think he wants to do real things because he's a genuine guy still. You know, like people don't know him like that. But this dude does a lot for the people around him. He's built like he's the facility that he's built at his house and the amount of people that come around and around him that he's taking care of. That doesn't come lightly. That doesn't come with like a light heart. That comes, you know, or with a heavy heart. That comes lightly, you know. So man, you know, it blows me away. People are so fast to count people out. But I think he's gonna come back and he's gonna prove people wrong. You'll see all those same people that were talking jump right back on his bandwagon, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's 2 cases where I think sometimes you do hear all the negativity, unfortunately. It outweighs the positive. But I also think I've been thinking about this more so lately. I think the bettors have something to do with it. You know, the gamblers, those are the ones, you know, they love you. They'll be in your DMs like, "I love you, Marcus," after a win because he
Yep.
made them some cash, right? But then, you know, when you lose them some cash, I feel like their anger, you know, depending on how much they bet on you or some shit, they take it out on you, maybe
Yeah.
even through their social media accounts. I think a lot of the Twitter accounts too, I think they're betting accounts. I think a lot of them are like gamblers and shit.
Yeah. No,
So then the
100%.
voice speaks out because if those are the ones who have all those Twitter accounts, you hear about it more.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And I think that's why, again, not getting caught up in the banter because who are these accounts that are saying all these things? You go to these accounts and you look at who they are. You see some of these guys are doing that, like Jamal Hill, you know, go to these accounts and see who they are. And you're just like, bro, I'm going to pray for this person. You know, they're obviously going through a whole lot in life. They put $15 that they shouldn't even put on a bet, you know, and that was their last $15 and they lost it. And now they're coming to you and acting like you're the problem. You know what I'm
Like it's
saying?
your
Like,
fault.
like it's your fault, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And that's human nature, right? So yeah, you know, more power to those guys.
I feel you. Okay, 2 more. I just wanted to say one thing about Jamal Hill, which is just that like, um, I've always been a big fan of Jamal because I'm a guy who I just like a guy who comes out and fights and it's a really good, exciting fight. And somebody like Jamal who also can like put a stamp on it with some of his trash talk. I enjoy it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? But then I be seeing comments too where they're like, it's so hard to like Jamal. It's like you can't even get past like his personality because really it's all about the fighting. You know what I mean? And Jamal does nothing but put on good fights, even when he lost to Yuri. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like that was a great fight at the end of the day. And
yeah,
he goes on his shield. It's
yeah.
way better than a guy who fights safe, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. And then even like as far as his mannerisms, whatever you guys see on him people are so concerned what they see on Instagram. Man, they see what you see what people want you to see. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know Jamal Hill. So oh, I can't get with Jamal Hill. You don't know him. You know what I'm
Yeah, you
saying?
just
Why are
see
you
like
so
maybe some trolling or something. Like,
yeah, you don't know this man. You don't know his theories on things. You don't know this guy, you know. So take a seat back, you know. I'm sure he wouldn't mess with you either, you know what I'm saying? Because you give up on everything you try in life, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know, so all that stuff aside, you know, Jamal Hill's cool. I met him in person and dude, he was a cool dude, you know what I'm saying? Real smooth, real charismatic type of dude, you know. And yeah, I'm sure he has that other side to him, just like I do. And you know, I think the Lord has helped me really cage that side and put that side away because of who I want to be and who I and the character I want to exude. But there's not a part of me that sits there and says like I would not react or do anything outside of my character because I absolutely still can, and I remind myself of that regularly. You are just a man. That's what that's what Marcus Aurelius, this guy, used to say to him all the time, just to remind him, you're just a man. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Don't get too big for your britches. But yeah, because you're kind of saying you used to be a little bit more like crazy, right? But you've mellowed out a lot over the years.
100%.
Yeah,
A
for sure.
hundred percent. Yeah. People don't even realize that. They're like, oh no, I've known you for 10 years and you've been cool. I'm like, that was 25 years old, bro. Like, you know, what was I doing before 25 years old? You know, yeah, go back, go talk to some of those folks, bro. They'll let you know, like, I definitely had a lot of different issues and things that I had to grow with. And I made that growth. And that's why again, like I love so much more of those things. I'm so happy that I've been able to do what I've done in the UFC and in MMA period. And the growth that I've been able to make as a human being through martial arts supersedes all of my accolades in the arena.
Definitely, yeah. And that's one of the best things about martial arts is like you're forced to confront yourself, right? I think that's one of the
Exactly.
big reasons why fighters are so humble at the end of the day and like down
Exactly.
to earth and kind of like real, you know?
100%. We've been at the bottom. We've been at so for especially the people that have been at the bottom and been at the top. You know, you understand that you can't stay at the bottom for too long. And you can't stay at the top for too long. You got whether you're regardless of where you're at, even if you're at the top, don't let yourself stay there too long. You know, don't let yourself mentally stay there too long because you'll get caught up and then again when it does drop a little bit, you'll be like, oh my God, things are and it's like no, everything's still good. You know.
Definitely, yeah. And you see that with Sugar, he kind of is able, even though he lost, he sounds like he's kind of level headed. So he's been considering all those things. Even you're saying that's a big part for fighters because you see all these issues that kind of happen with some of the retired guys. I think it's because maybe they rode the highs and the lows a little bit too much. You know, when they're not fighting, maybe they're like drinking, partying, and stuff. And then when they're winning, they're also celebrating a lot. So the
Yeah.
last thing I want to conclude it with is, I think when we first did the interviews, like when you were first signed to the UFC, you're talking about how people were kind of like loaning you money to kind of like fund your career and stuff like that. But you were also saying like you're taking these steps, like starting a YouTube channel. Also just with all these performances, right? You just got signed to a new contract. So where are you at now, like financially in your life? Because like, you're not doing the best, right? A couple years ago, but I feel like things have changed for you a lot, and with your whole family.
Yeah, things
Also,
have
how your
changed, you
wife,
know.
I just want to give credit. Your wife was also helping you out, right? She's a teacher. So there's this whole backstory. If fans that don't know that about
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah, no, so yeah, so my wife obviously, you know, she's a teacher, so she does make money as well, yo, and obviously she does help with some of the bills around as well. But as referring back to what you're referring to, I had started a company with three of my good associates, basically, and it was like marketing, trying to blow us up a little bit, trying to get us out there, trying to create a platform outside of just being in the UFC that we had created. That's where the cooking show came from. That's where a lot of the YouTube content came from. And we really tried to work that out and do a lot of things together. And we ended up spending a lot of money in that area, which I was still grateful to do. Obviously, I paid all that stuff back. And that's what I did with a lot of the money that I made because we did spend quite a bit trying to do those things. And then it just occurred to me that I'm not going to do all that extra. I'm not going to put so much of my finances into trying to blow up. You know, if it
I
comes and
got
it
you.
comes, I'm gonna do the things that are come to me, you know. So that's why I haven't had my podcast, I haven't had my cooking show, I haven't had any of these things going because I've been more focused on doing some more things that can keep me financially stable. You know, again, that's the biggest thing because we do make decent money in the UFC, but when it's spread out, sometimes it can become an issue. And then
Yeah.
being the man I am, you know, I have a wife, 4 children, a home, 2 vehicles. You know, I already have all these things, these assets. I was already a working man. I was already in corporate cannabis. You know what I'm saying? You know, making $65,000 a year. You know, working a lot, but you know, supporting and providing for my family. So once I stepped outside of that, I did have a lump sum of money that I had. And after that lump sum of money, for about 7 months, my associates funded basically all of the things that we were doing. And then during that time, we got into the UFC, obviously got our first bonus, paid a whole lot of that off after our first bonus, paid the rest of it off after our second bonus, paid a lot more off on the second bonus and paid the rest off for our third bonus against Gaston. So, and then kind of just shut a lot of that down, you know, so that I could be focused on being financially stable. So we're not an amazing area, you know, we're still not we're not wealthy by any means, but we are absolutely blessed and God has given so much provision.
Got you. And I guess maybe moving forward now that you've kind of paid back the people who helped you out, just got signed to a new contract. Now maybe we're on to the greener pastures, so to speak, for you guys.
My bad, man. You just cut out on me.
Okay. We had a bunch of technical difficulties, but we're back. I was just gonna say, I'm glad to hear that you were able to pay off the people who supported you, and also to hear that you signed to a new contract. So maybe moving forward with this next contract, it'll be good for you guys and your whole family and stuff like that.
Thank you. Yeah, it definitely was nice to do that. Good to give. And honestly, I'd still love to do a lot of things with those guys. I just think that I'd like to do more real things, you know, like getting famous and getting all the clout on Instagram and those type of things. That's not really what I'm focused on, you know. I want to focus on doing real things. So hopefully we can do some real business together.
Yeah, that's dope. I'll look out for whatever you're doing then, because I think too sometimes a lot of the interactions on social media are short-lived for the fighters, and like once you retire, if you have a YouTube channel, you still got to be doing all that stuff. So it's cool to hear that you're setting up some things where maybe you don't have to be in the limelight. Like I know Henry Cejudo, he has a lot of real estate and stuff like that. So there's a lot of other ways, you know what I mean, to grow your money.
Exactly. And those are the
Yeah.
type of things that I'm looking to get into. More of that type of stuff, more cooking or get my own food truck going, you know, things like that.
Got you. Well, that sounds good, man. I'll be looking forward to the fight. Good looking training camp and all that. And July 26th, Abu Dhabi, Marcus McGhee versus Petr Yan, big fight.
Let's go. Thank you, brother.
Let's go. Thank you, man. Appreciate the time. Have a good one.